So welcome to the IITN GATE classes. In this video, we are going to talk about classless interdomain routing or CIDR. When the internet was first being designed, it was being designed with the idea of using IP addresses classes, or also sometimes known as classful IP addresses. But we quickly realized that there were a number of problems with using classful IP addressing, like quickly running out of IP addresses. So we came up with a few different solutions to get out of this problem. And one of them is the use of classless interdomain routing or CIDR. Let's talk about these problems. When we have a classful IP addressing, we have a class A, class B, class C. What is the class A, class B, class C? You know that for class A, first octet is reserved for the network ID and the remaining for the host ID. See, you know, in the IPv4, we have a 32-bit addresses there. 8-bit for the network, remaining 24-bit for the host. Similarly, for the class B, 16-bit for the network ID and remaining 16-bit for the host ID, right? For the class B. Similarly, for the class C, 24-bit for the network ID and 8-bit for the host ID, right? 24 and 8. You know that part, right? So the main thing is that the difference between these classes is too large. You know, you have a class A, right, which has almost 17 million hosts corresponding to each network of class A. Similarly, you have a class B range that has a little over 65,000 hosts per network, right? So now there's a huge difference there. You have your class C range, which allowed only 254 IP addresses. See the difference of each network. Difference of each network from different classes, the huge difference is there, right? Right? Now you understood where we are facing problem with classful IP addressing. Right? See, let's take a hypothetical scenario. Let's take a hypothetical scenario. If you are a company made up of 2,000 hosts, you have 2,000 computers on your network and they needed to communicate with the internet. What do you do? You had two choices. You either could pick up a class B address, right? That will assign you a specific range. You will get 65,534 IP addresses in each network. Right? But the problem is you need only 2,000 hosts. The remaining will be waste. So which is around 63,000. When you will choose class B and 63,000 IP address will be waste, right? Similarly, let's say if you want to be a little bit less wasteful, you can go and register for 8C class C. 8 class C means in each network of class C, 254 hosts are possible. You need how many? 2,000 hosts, right? So if you do some mathematics, so minimum 8 classes are required to fulfill your requirement, right? But now 8 networks are required, right? Got it? So, but now you end up having cluttered routing table entry. Because you had this 8 different network and you had all this different router to get those 8 network to talk to one another, to talk to internet, everything. What I'm saying, more processing is required on the routing tables when you are using 8 different network for fulfillment of your 2,000 hosts, right? So neither one was really a good solution. So that's where we introduce the idea of classless interdomain routing. And that will be using variable length subnet mask. So our subnet mask, when we look at it from the decimal perspective, it's always 255s and zeros. And this is very restrictive, right? That's how we end up with our classes, because we can only draw the line between our network ID and our host in 3 places, only 3 dots, right? You know 32 bits, 32-bit IP address is there. So 3 dots are there between 4 octets, right? If you draw the line here, then we could say this is class A. If we draw a line here, then we can say this is class B. If we draw a line here, then we can say this is class C. But if we look at the subnet mask from the binary perspective, we see that it's 32-bit long, and we have a bunch of places that we might be able to draw the line now. So right now we are drawing our line where the third dot is. Here we are drawing. So this is a class C, right? We have 8 ones, dot, 8 ones, dot, 8 ones, then we have a line. After this dot, then 8 zeros. But with variable length subnet mask, we now have the ability to move the line to the left, or we could move to the right. So we can kind of move it wherever we want between these bits. Now, instead of just having to be either 17 million addresses, 65,000 addresses, or 254 addresses, we can get a little bit more specific with it, right? Right? Let's say for class A, 17 million, for class B, 65,000, right? For class C, 254. That many hosts are possible in each network corresponding to their class, right? Now, when you look at a subnet mask, moving that line, you still always have ones to the left and zeros to the right. So you will see here that you might have a number beside 255 and 0. You might have 254, 252, or 248, or 240, or 192, or 192, or 128. Like see this one. See, earlier only we have in the subnet mask we have 255 and 0, but now this combination is also possible. Right? Let's start with 255.255.0.0. So where we have 65,000 potential hosts possible, right? Because see, 16 bits are in the host part. So 2 raised to 16, that number of hosts are possible, right? Because the last 2 octets are all part of the host ID, right? But we want to have a network that is smaller than that. Then what we can do is we can move the bar to the right and have subnet ID. That's something, right? So the original subnet mask where there's 16 ones and then there's 16 zeros. This is your original subnet mask, 16 ones and 16 zeros. But if we subnet it out, we could add 5 more ones to the network ID portion, right? And then we call that the subnet ID. Now we have 21 ones and we only have 11 bits for the host ID, right? So when we figuring out the number of subnet that we could create in the environment, in a single network, 2 raised to 16 hosts means near about 65,000 sources possible. Now that 65,000 hosts we are dividing into subnetworks. How many bits we borrow from the host ID to network ID? 5 bits we borrow, right? 5 bits we borrow. Now, how many subnet is possible in single network? We will see. So, see these 5 bits, this orange color, these 5 bits we borrowed from the host ID. So, 2 raised to 5, it means 32 subnet is possible. Now, what I'm saying, this is your single network. In single network, 65,000 hosts are possible. Now you divided that whole environment into 32 parts. 0, 1, 2, 3, like this, up to 32. So each part, single means single subnet network. How many hosts is containing? How many hosts? So 2 raised to power. See, how many bits are there in the host ID? 11 bits. After doing subnetting, so 11 bits means 2048. that number of hosts possible, but there is -2 will be there. There is for special purpose, because 000 and 111 is not possible, right? That's what special purpose use. For this 11 represent as a broadcast ID, 111 represent as a broadcast ID, and 00 represent as a network ID. So we can't use these two. So remaining will be 20446 available hosts in each subnet, right? So this is a great way where we say we have 2000 hosts on our network, and that we have the ability to go ahead and break away from the A and B and C class, take a B class range of addresses by doing variable length subnetting. Now you are understood how we are doing variable length subnet mask. Now things get a little bit more confusing with our simple network. If we are using variable length subnet mask, so this is your simple network in this picture, and normal. This is one your client, server, and router I'm using, right? I have a client that has 192.168.10.101. That is the IP for this client. A server that is 192.168.10.201, and a router that is 192.168.10.200, right? And the subnet mask for this one is 255.255.255.20. So all the subnet mask is same for this network, right? Now they talking to each other properly. That is, then there is no issue. Why? Because if you calculate the network ID of all the system, if you calculate the network ID of all the system, you will see the network ID of this one is 192.168.10. This is your network ID, right? Why? Because 3 octet we are using as a network ID. Similarly, network ID of server is this. Similarly, network ID for router is this. So network ID is same for all the systems. So they are communicating to each other, right? But this time I changed the subnet mask from 255.255.255.0. I moved the bar over and I made it to 248, right? See, this is your last octet. 8 bits are there. I move 5 bits into as a network ID portion, in a network portion, right? So remaining 3 bits as a host ID, remaining 3 bits as a host ID. Now that this is actually a bad network with same IPs. This is actually a bad network when we change our subnet mask, right? These devices will not talk to each other. Why won't they talk to each other? Well, in order to understand this, we have to be able to look at this from the binary perspective. So if we take the IP address, the client, the server, the router, and we convert all of their IP address into binary IP addresses, right? So are all 3 of them on the same network? The answer is no, right? You look at all the ones and zero in what would be the network ID. If you see this value, if you see this value, if you see this value, if you see this one, these 3, all are different network ID. Because see how many bits in the network right now. Now you have how many bits? 8 bits here, 8 bits here, 8 bits here, 5. This one, right? So 29 bits is a network ID right now, right? So if you see the value of the network ID from the client, server, and router, all are different. That's why they don't talk to each other. That's why this simple network is a bad network. So this is a problem, right? So how could we fix this network? Well, in this example, with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.248, each network will then be broken into block of 6 host addresses. What I'm saying now, take any network, any subnetwork. In that subnetwork, how many hosts are possible? Now 6 hosts. Actually, 3 bits are reserved for the host ID. 3 bits are reserved for the host ID. From that 3 bits, 2 raised to power 3, 8 8 hosts are possible, but 8 hosts are possible, but the first one and the last one, when all are 0, when all are 1, right? When all are 0 and all are 1, because these are reserved for the network ID and this one is reserved for the broadcast ID. Remaining 6 are possible. Now, from this network, we have to choose what will be our client, what will be our server, what will be our router. Let's say this IP assigned to the client, this IP assigned to the server, this IP assigned to the router. So from this assigning, so from small subnetwork, we can set up our network, right? So that's how we use variable length subnet mask. Now the one last thing that I want to talk about here is something called CIDR notation. So without the CI notation, we have an IP address of 192.168.10.1 with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.248. To simplify things, we go ahead and say that is 192.168.10.1/29. This is CIDR notation and it is without CIDR notation. So it is a little bit more simplified way of notating subnet mask for this particular IP address. And what the /29 represent is the number of ones in the network ID. So we are saying that 32 bits that make up the subnet mask and 29 of them are ones, and that's why CIDR notation would be /29, right? So either one is perfectly acceptable. You will find that in many environments you have the choice. You can do either, So you will actually see in the both way on the screen, this without and with CDI. Now it's so that you can use it's so that you can use variable length subnet mask and classless inter-domain routing. So these are the 29 ones and 3 bits for the host ID, right? CIDR block. When a user asks for specific number of IP addresses, CIDR dynamically assign a block of IP addresses based on certain rules. So this block contains the required number of IP addresses as demanded by the user. So this block of IP addresses we call CIDR block. So the range of IPs we put into a block and assign to the user as per demand, right? So rules for creating CIDR block. A CIDR block is created based on following 3 rules. The first one, all the IP addresses in the CIDR block must be contiguous, right? So that should be continuous. Similarly, let's any IP 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, like this. That should be continuous. Second rule, the size of the block must be presentable as power of 2, right? So whatever the block size, that should be a power of 2. That should be a power of 2, right? The size of the block is the total number of IP addresses contained in the block, right? It makes sense. The number of IP addresses is the size of the block. The size of any CIDR block will always be in the form of this one, 2^1, 2^2, 3, and so on. And the last rule is rule number 3. The first IP address of the block must be divisible by the size of the block. So how it is divisible, we will see. Right? See, if any binary pattern consisting of n plus n bits is divided by 2^n, the remainder is least significant n bits and quotient is most significant n bits. What I am saying, see, this is your binary pattern. This is your binary pattern, and this one is the first IP address of the block. First IP address of the block, right? Now we have to check this is divisible by or not. So what is the meaning of divisible, right? What is the meaning of divisible? Let's say the block size is 2^5. Let's say block size is 2^5. Now since the 5 least significant 5 bits are 0, right? It's possible. Now we can say it is a divisible by 2^5. Similarly, check with the 2^6. Yes, 6 least significant 6 bits are 0. Yes, it is divisible by 2 raised to power 6. So it is not divisible by 2 raised to power 7. Why? Because the least significant 7 bits are not 0, right? So if we are dividing with any block of size, we have to see, like, let's say if block of size is 2 raised to power 10. So 10 least significant 10 bits are 0. That's the meaning. How you calculate. The 10 bits are the remainder, and the remaining 32 bits minus 10 means your 22 bits as a quotient, as a most significant m bits. So m is a 22 or n is a 10. How you will calculate? So there are 3 rules, main thing. Rule number 1, all the IP address in the CAD block must be contiguous. Rule number 2, the size of the block must be presentable as a power 2. Third, the first IP address of the block must be divisible by the size of the block, right? See this example. So given this CIDR representation, we have this IP with /27. This 27 means what? In the network ID, number of ones are 27. Number of ones in the IP is 27. Means the network ID portion is 27 bits, right? Find the range of IP address in the CIDR block. Find the range of IP address in the CIDR block. So this IP address is a CIDR IP address. Means one of the IP of the block. One of the IP of the block. So we have to tell the range of the block. What will be the range of the block? So from this IP, we can calculate the network ID. We can calculate the network ID or the first IP of the block. First IP of the block. How we calculate? We have to take 27 bits as a 111 and remaining will be 0. See, 1111 8 bits like this to me. So this is your IP. You have to do bitwise AND with the subnet mask and your IP address. 1111. This is also 111. This is also 111. Now 24. Remaining 3. That's also 111. Remaining will be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now apply bitwise AND. Whatever the answer, this will be same. This will be same. This will be same, and this will be 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Right. So meaning is 32. Right. So this is your first IP address. And what will be the last IP address? What will be the last IP address? Last IP is, so this subnet is fixed. This subnet is fixed. Now host IP is 11111. So 63 is the last IP address of the block. So the first IP is there, last is. So see, this first IP is divisible by the size of the block. Yes, it will be divisible by size of the block. Right? So this is your range. Okay, the second one. Perform CIDR aggregation on the following IP. See, now one block is given, second block is given, third block is given, fourth block is given. 4 block, different block is given. So we have to aggregate. Can we aggregate? First, we have to check the rule. 3 rules are there, right? First rule, clearly all the IP address are contiguous, right? All IP address continuous. See, this is 24, 25, 26, 20. These are the continuous, right? Rule 1 is satisfied, right? Rule number 2, the size of the block must be presentable as 2 raised to power n, right? So see, the first one is, what is the size of the first? 2 raised to power 8, right? The second, 2 raised to power 8. Third, block size 2 raised to power 8. Fourth size 2 raised to power 8. How I am calculating the size, right? Because 24 bits are 1, the remaining 8 bits for the host. So that is the size of the block, right? How you calculate the size of the block? So you have to see the size of the block must be presentable as a 2 raised to power n. So 2 raised to power 8, 2 raised to power 8 plus 2 raised to power 8 plus 2 raised to power 8. So it means 2 raised to power 10, right? So 2 raised to 1. So it is presentable in the form of 2 raised to power n. So second rule is satisfied. And the third rule is, the first IP address must be divisible by size of the block. The first IP address. So what will be the first? First IP address is 128.56.24.0. That is your first address. That should be divisible by size of the block. This is your size of the block. See, the least 10 bits we can generate from this if we divide, right? So 8 bits are this one, right? Yes, we can generate least significant. See how? So 128.56. How can you represent 24? 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. Remaining is 0, 0, 0, 0. So this 8 bits plus 2 bits. Yes, these are the this 2 raised to this IP address is divisible by the size of block. So our rule is satisfied. Since all the three rules are satisfied, so they can be aggregated, right? They can be aggregated. Answer is yes, right? Now we will see GATE 2020 question. An organization require a range of IP address to assign one to each of its 1500 computers, right? 1500 computers. The organization has approached an internet service provider for this task. An ISP uses CIDR and serve the request from the available IP address space. This is the network ID is assigned to the CIDR. Means the address space of the ISP is this one. From this space, we can allocate 15 IP addresses to the organization. See which block we can assign to the organization. The ISP want to assign the address space to the organization, which will minimize the number of routing entry in the ISP router using root aggregation. So which of the following address space are potential candidate from which the ISP can allocate any one of the organization? So this 4 address space is given. So which address space you can allocate to the organization, right? So here given the IP address space, is this one 202.61.0.0.017. This one. So the 17 bits are in network ID bits, right? These are the 17 bits are network ID bits. The remaining will be host ID bits, right? Remaining will be host ID bits. So in order to assign 1500 computers, or host, we will need minimum 11 bits. How? See, 2 raised to 11 means 2 raised to 04. And if you see 2 raised to 10, it is 1024. So this is not possible. That's why minimum 11 bits are required. This one. So see, these are the 32 bits, 17 bit for the network ID, and 11 bits if you see we use for host ID, right? Host bits. This is so remaining this 4 bits left, right? Remaining 4 bits will used as a subnet ID bits, right? Subnet ID bits. So we have 4 subnet bits. Eligible network are those which belong among possible 16 subnet, right? These 4 bits are there. It means how many subnet possible? 16 subnet. See, it means in the ISP, for this ISP, whatever the address space is there, in that address space, 16 address space is possible, right? Now you have to see which address space we can give to the organization by looking the 4 options, right? So see, 20, take first option, 202.61. If you represent 84, into the binary, which will be 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. This is your 84.20, this one. So see, if you see these 4 bits, are the subnet, right? These 4 bits are the subnet. And this one for the host. If we are assigning any block to the organization, the host bit should be 0. But this one is given. So if this one is not possible. Next one, if you try next option, second, 202.61 represent 104.0.1.1.0.1, right? 0.0.0, right? .0, right? If you see these 4 bits, if you see, yes, 4 bit is there. This is a subnet ID. The host bits are 0, right? We can represent. We can give that address space to the organization. So this one is possible. See, this up to this network ID is same, right? But host bits are 0. So that address space we can give. But in the previous option, the first option, the host bit 1 is given inside. So that's not possible. Take third option. 202.61.0 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 dot 0, right? Now see this 4-bit for the subnet, and all host bits are 0, right? And network ID is same, right? So this is also possible. Third option is also possible, right? Now check now check the fourth option. Now check the fourth option. Now check the fourth option. This is 144. Means 144 means what? Which is 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 0, right? Dot 0. So this is 144. See the first bit, this from this octet, the first bit is 1, which itself is not a part of network, because the network ID is 200.202.61.0. This is your network ID, right? So 1 on the 70th bit not possible. 1 on the 70th bit is not possible here. So this is not possible. So what I'm saying, this is a not part of this network, ISP network. This IP is not part of this ISP. So answer is B. Second and third. This one is possible. How you have to solve the question, right? Yeah. Thank you guys.